Trying to get the sound usually that we get. You know what? This. There we go. All right. Well, welcome to the Fresno City Toastmasters meeting. I am Joey Myers, and I am the president, acting president of our Fresno City Toastmasters Club. We always like to start off with on the agenda, that bottom left corner, our mission statement there says we provide a supportive and positive learning experience in which members are empowered to develop communication and leadership skills, resulting in greater self-confidence and personal growth. I always like to underline the first couple, the supportive and positive learning experience, especially when we're looking to get better at public speaking. Come on in. Come on in.
Hi.
Hi, I'm Joey.
Hi, nice to meet you. Aris.
What is it?
Aris. Nice to meet you.
Aris?
Yeah.
How do you spell it?
A-R-I-S.
Got it.
Okay.
Cool. Welcome. And we'll introduce as we get in here. Let me write this on my master. Yeah, pick a seat. Cool. And Aris, this is Richard over here. This is Sarah. This is Chanel. She's setting up our second camera. Christine. And this is Wyatt over here. You're probably not gonna remember everybody's name, but we'll try. We'll try. Yeah, write it down so you don't forget. There you go. All right. So again, welcome to the club. Just a little bit of club business before we get on with the show. Toastmaster. Should I take that on, or let's see, how is Chanel's doing table topics. Sarah's got, yeah, I'll take on the Toastmaster. So a couple things, club business. We had our open house last Tuesday, yeah, a week ago. Richard was there. I think Sarah and Chanel was there. And by the way, Sarah, the cookies were a gigantic hit. We call them, last name's Dawson. She makes great cookies. We call them Awesome Dawson cookies. And so we had them for silent auction. We had some items that we had up, and those were it. And my dad ended up coming for support. It's the first time I'd actually been to a meeting, and I've been with Fresno City Toastmasters since 2012. So I thought that was great. But we took the cookies over to my nephew's first birthday and ate them all. And we even took some for our house. So we ended up having some left over. So I think I ate the last two last night. So Sarah, awesome. Thank you. Awesome, Dawson. But I think we had a pretty big hit with the open house, auction off again, a couple items, and just a little bit more awareness, trying to get people into not only the mug to get them in here, but also into Toastmasters. And the way we'll run it today, we don't have any speeches, but obviously that's a big part of our thing. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about what that looks like if we had a speech today, or if you're going to give a speech, what that would look like. So we'll answer any questions there, but we'll get a chance today for those willing and able to come up and do table topics. And I'll let Chanel, when she comes up, explain what that is. But we'll do some speeches today. They'll just be smaller speeches. Hello, come on in. How's it going?
Good.
I'm Joey.
Rich.
Nice to meet you. Go ahead and pick a spot. I think we get an agenda to Rich. We grab. You can come on this side, yeah. Kind of balance out the room a little bit. You don't want to be in the front?
I'll hang out right here.
Okay, there we go. And then Rich, here's an agenda for you.
Okay.
Yeah, welcome to the group.
Same thing or no?
Yeah.
Yep, same thing. This is my master one, because I'm going to be sitting there.
Awesome.
So welcome.
Thank you.
And we're just kind of starting it off. So open house, I think, went great. And again, trying to get more people into the mug, and then also into Toastmasters would be great. And again, questions, if you got any questions, we'll answer them at the end. I mean, if you feel like you need to ask, we'll have some extra time today because we don't have any speeches scheduled for today. But any questions that come up about Toastmasters and things like that. But I think you'll get a good idea as we go through it today. Speaking of that, any questions, board, or anything that I missed on business? Or is that about it?
We're good. I know dues are coming up end of next
Dues,
month.
end of March.
I think March 31st.
Yep, dues are due, and I probably can address that. For renewing members, dues are $60 every 2 times a year, so it's biannual.
If you're online, the payment, or
so you can do it through us. So we do a membership app, and then application. You fill that out, and you can put your information there. For renewing members, we do it through like just PayPal, or I have a Stripe app on my phone. We can run a card. Just however, cash, whatever. We haven't really done cash since before COVID. Really, not that it's really a big deal, but I think everybody's kind of gone online with that. But for a new member, depending on when you join, it's prorated. So if you join closer to our renewal, which is getting close, then it's prorated. So it would be somewhere around maybe $45 to $55. There's a little extra in there for like the headquarters charges. We're just a club of the headquarters. So it'll probably be around 45, 55 bucks. And then renewing it would be 60. So for best bang for your buck for communication and leadership training, we think it's the best. I've been with this club. I was just talking with everybody in here that since 2012. I've been with the Fresno City Toastmasters for a while. So it's worth it to me to keep going. And I'm more kind of in a mentorship role at this point now. I still do some speeches and things, but you kind of learn and evolve as you're in your membership on this. So being on the ground floor, I think you'll learn a lot here, and hopefully we can convey the benefit that would be to you in your specific situation. Good question though. Yep. And then Chanel, thank you for that. Anything else? Should we move on?
Just
Move
make
on with the
sure
show?
we have all of our rules still.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Uh,
Do you have a question, Rich?
Yeah, real quick. This is my first time ever.
Yeah, sure.
And I just saw it. I was like, I need, this is something I definitely could use.
Yeah.
For new members, how do we sign up? Like, when sign up at when?
How that looks?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what we'll do is we'll get your email here. We got, you can use that pen right there. And then what I'll do is I'll reach out, send an email out, especially for those that are looking for a membership application, and I'll just send that out to you.
Perfect.
And then you'll have my email, so you can ask me any questions that you might have.
Okay.
Yeah. So we can go over that a lot on the emails and the comms and things. So roles filled, we have, so Denny's out, so I'll fill the Toastmaster role. And then we got Sarah's here, Corinne. So I'll counter. Sarah, did you say you were going to take that on? Okay, I'll counter. And then how about grammarian? That's one that probably would have to get a little bit of
Yeah.
research.
I'll write it on the board.
You want to do that one? Okay, thanks, Chanel. So Chanel's going to take that on. And then the other role should be good, right? Chanel, you got table topics. Yeah, I think we're good from there. All right, we good with that? Let's make it happen. Let's make it happen. So I'm going to be the Toastmaster of the day. You see Denny's there. She couldn't make it today. And what the Toastmaster does is just leads the meeting and make sure the smooth transition between the different roles that we're doing. So we always introduce a theme, which is send a card to a friend day. Now, usually we come up with these themes. You just kind of put in National Day, blah, 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 and you look up the day and then whatever. That's how I kind of do it. Make it not super, super hard. So send a card to a friend day. I think this is good. We're starting to come up close to Valentine's Day. And I know some think, well, Valentine's Day is just a national holiday. I want you to go out and spend money on chocolates and flowers and restaurants and things like that. Although if that's the case, at least buy local, I think, because local businesses need it. I think that's a good thing to do. And also just the fact that hopefully every day we're giving our loved ones that we love them. We're doing things. It's not just a card on Valentine's Day, but hopefully it's a little bit more than that. But I think we did last week was open house. The week before, I think we did the National Compliment Day. I think that was a good one. If you haven't watched that on our YouTube channel, it's you see some big smiles on that one. I think with everybody, we were all giving each other compliments, and I think blushing. Yeah, I was giving it all around. It was great. It was online and in person. So I think that goes along with that, sending a card to a friend day. I think, especially a friend that's going through some things, and sometimes even harder if you want to get a bonus one as a friend who maybe you're at ends with, to reach out to them and maybe you don't have to apologize or whatever, especially if it's their issue, but just saying, hey, thinking of you or whatnot, that always goes a long way. So with that, I will turn the podium over to our general evaluator, Miss Sarah Dawson.
Thank you, Jim. Hello, everyone. So all of us get to take on different roles, and it just helps move the meeting along. Part of our process is evaluating, and that's one of the best things, because as we evaluate, it helps us grow and helps us learn and do better than we did before. And I think that's probably why we're all here. So as a general evaluator, I get a team together and we evaluate different aspects, and then I give a general overview at the end. I will take on, so I'm doing double duty today, and I'm going to take on the odd counter. It's always the one that Joey always says, this is the one you're going to remember when you leave. You get to count all the ahs and ums and crutch words that we use that tend to keep us from being able to speak effectively. Instead of, like, what's one of my biggest things is taking a breath, stop getting into my head, and then being able to speak clearly and communicate without all the crutch words in between. So it's just a way to kind of help notice it, because the more that we kind of see it, you're like, oh, I'm starting to notice I remember one time I used this when I happened to just be listening to the governor one time. And so I started counting his uhs all the time. There was like 37 in 7 minutes. Oh, wow, that was impressive. So just being able to.
You remember his message?
No. All I remember is thinking, no, don't remember that.
Yeah.
So that's what we do as part of this. I will call Chanel. She's going to also take on double duty and do the grammarian word of the day. You want in? There you go.
Sometimes, thank you, when people don't show up, we have to improvise and fill in roles as we can. My name's Chanel. I'm the current VP of Education for the club, and I've been in Fresno City Toastmasters for about 3 years now. Actually, this month it's 3 years. My first time was February 2020, like right before the pandemic. The first role I'm going to do today is our grammarian. So we have a word of the day, and the purpose of the word of the day is for us to challenge ourselves to try to integrate that into our conversations, or if it's a speech, today it will be table topics, and to use that word in its correct definition. It's kind of like multitasking. You have to think about multiple things at once. You're thinking about replying to whatever question you're answering, and then you're also thinking about how can I integrate the word of the day. Our word today is going to be acquiesce, which I'll go and write it on the whiteboard so we can see it as well. It means to accept, agree, or allow something to happen by staying silent or by not arguing. So for example, eventually the professor acquiesced to the student's request to have the seminar's final class be a potluck lunch. Acquiesce, so I will be listening for us using it. I will be listening for myself as well, because I'm notorious for not using the word of the day.
What's your definition again?
To accept, agree, or allow something to happen by staying silent or by not arguing. And I'll put it on the whiteboard over here so everyone can see.
Thank you.
Sarah?
Thank you, Chanel. And Joey, I think you're up next. You're going to tell us all about the timer roll.
All right. Thank you, Sarah. So timer roll this is something that we got quite a ways back and got to dust it off as we started coming into live meetings again, in-person meetings again. We did a lot of the online thing for a good year and a half, and then we started transition to do a live in-person type of thing. So we hadn't used this in quite a while. But with the speeches, and if you ever have to be timer, it has all the information on the side there. So don't feel like, oh my God, I've got to do a timer roll. And then we have just actually dug this out of our blue backpack over there. We have a stopwatch, so make it easy, both of them together. So for typically for speeches are 5 to 7 minutes. The first speech, the icebreaker that our first members will come in and give, is 4 to 6. And usually that icebreaker speech is a moment for us to learn a little bit more about you. It's about you. It doesn't have to be it doesn't have to be a TEDx talk about XYZ. It's about you. And it's something that you're going to know very well. You know yourself very well. And you just talk about yourself. And that particular speech is 4 to 6 minutes. Normal, regular speeches are 5 to 7. So you would see a green at 5 minutes, and then you would see a yellow red combo. There's a little fuse thing going on in here. But you see the yellow here. So that's at 6 minutes. And then you would see a red at 7. We also time the evaluation. So if we had a speech evaluation today, that would be somebody who's evaluating the speaker on certain criteria that the speech itself gives. And those are generally 2 to 3 minutes. So 2 on green, 2.5, you'd see the yellow, and then you'd see at 3 is red to wrap it up. The table topics, which we will be doing today, are 1 to 2 minutes. So they're not quite crazy, but sometimes it's a little hard to get into that 1 minute zone. So you're in the safety zone there for some people. Some people like myself like to talk more than 2 minutes. But it keeps us on time, and you'd see a green at 1, you'd see a yellow at 1.5, and then you'd see a red at 2. Now, 2 doesn't mean we're going to slap you on the wrist with a ruler or anything like that, like in Catholic school.
There just might be a.
Yeah, there might be a bullhorn or something that might go off. But you get an extra 30 seconds after. So we have actually competitions throughout the year, and one of them is a table topics competition, and that one will give you an extra 30 seconds past the 2 minute mark. If you go 2:30 or 2:31, I think it is, then you're disqualified. So you do get a little extra in there. And I tend to use that quite a bit. I try not to stay in the 1 to 2. I kind of go outside. Sarah knows, Chanel knows. And Richard's starting to, I think, know now, he's starting to get the idea. So that's what I'll be doing today. I'll be timing, and then the other side I'll be doing is the Zoom Master, which I've already made this recorded. So one question in live, especially with number of guests in here, if you don't want, when you come up here to do a table topics and you don't want to be recorded, because this will go up on YouTube, then let us know and we can pause that section and then unpause as we go. So just let us know if you don't want to be, since you're a guest, you're not a bona fide member yet. Okay, so please let us know. But I will be the Zoom Master as well today.
Thank you. All right, so that's the evaluation team. I'm going to turn it back over. I think I get to turn it right back over to you, right, Jody? You're going to introduce table topics?
Or you can just.
You can send
it
it
to
Okay,
me.
come on
Yeah.
over. Yay, thank you.
Hello again. I'm also going to be our table topics master for today. Table topics is probably the portion of Toastmasters that has impacted me personally the most, because it's the time of our meetings where we practice extemporaneous speaking, which is speaking off the cuff, unprepared, unplanned. And for myself, I could always pull it off if I had to put together a prepared speech and I had plenty of time to work on it and it could be totally organized and have my notes all in a row. But for me, pre-Toastmasters, if I was put in a situation where I had to speak without any planning, just totally not any heads up, then I would get really nervous and clam up and not think of anything to say. So this is probably my favorite part of our meetings. What we're going to do today is I will have both of our members, Joey and Sarah, go first to give an example of what this looks like. And then if any of our guests want to, you're welcome to go. You're also no pressure, you don't have to. I have a list here of 365 questions. We've used this list before, so no, we're not going to go through all of them. What I'm going to do is ask each person on their turn to choose a number 1 through 365, and then I will read whatever question that number is, and then you will come up and answer the question in 1 to 2 minutes. And we will get to listen to your lovely answers. So who would like to start? Joey, Sarah? Gonna go for it? Okay, what number?
Number 17.
And I can time you. Number 17, okay. And these are varying levels of intense, I should say. There's varying levels of intensity on this list.
So that wasn't a good intro into this one. Meaning of life type question.
So yeah, there are some of those. Question 17 is, what does your joy look like today?
Okay, thank you. This table topics master and guest. Joy to me, I've over the last, 2020 really kind of set it in and everything we've gone through in the last 3 or 4 years, but it's really to warm up and cozy up to bad things. My dad always used to call it Murphy's Law. How many know Murphy's Law is? If things are going to go bad, they're going to go bad. It's just going to happen, right? Right now we're building a pool in the backyard, and we had a big old hole in the ground started with, and if any of you ever gone through that before, and it's like a war zone. It completely, there's pipes, everything all over the place. So being able to be okay with disaster and chaos, because at some point it's not going to look like that, and there's actually going to be water in it. There's kids going to be playing in it, and I have two. I have a 2-year-old boy and a 6-year-old girl is going to be 7, but she seems like she's going to turn 14 here soon. For me, joy is being able to sit in when the bad happens, which we can't control that a lot of times. Some things sometimes we can, but we can't control it most of the time. But to be able to sit in it and be okay with it, and sometimes let things happen as they may, let the cards fall, and also enjoy the fact that later on it's not going to be that way, and something good is going to come out of it. Even with the bad, there's always good out of the bad, and being able to take that part of it. Because joy in normal things like being able to walk under the sun and fresh air and all that is great. I think we take that for granted a lot of times, and I feel like we could do probably a little bit better when the bad stuff hits us. So the last few years, especially with the kids and getting sick and lack of sleep, that's for me, joy is being able to sit and be okay and be cozy, even when bad things happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Joey.
you.
Sometimes we have to acquiesce to whatever life is throwing at us, right?
Yeah.
All right, Sarah, you gonna come up?
Thank you. We should, can I pick 7? No, I
Yeah,
like
you
that.
like that one?
I do, I love joy.
What, you want to do this?
252. No.
200.
Yeah.
I just forgot what I was doing. All right, Sarah, whose life have you had the greatest impact on?
Oh, whose life has have I had the greatest impact on? I don't like answering that question. I
Maybe
I
we can
don't
rephrase
know.
it partly to a life thing.
Or somebody she's had it. Somebody who,
She has impacted,
boom.
Okay, so
inspired.
there, so I work at Evangel Home, which is a homeless shelter for women and children, and so I absolutely love it there. That is my joy. I take great joy in being able to do that. I feel like that is what God has gifted me with and given me the ability to be able to do. He's just given me a heart of mercy to be able to reach out and to talk with people who are experiencing difficulties and heartache. Recently, we had a return guest who came back, and I had seen her years ago. At the time, I was the night house manager that was on duty, and so I would wake up and I would get to make breakfast every day. And one of the things that I would do is make, I love chocolate chip pancakes. I love chocolate, chocolate chip cookies, chocolate chip pancakes, it doesn't matter. And so somebody had happened to donate an entire huge box of mini chocolate chips that were perfect for making this. So I would make them to order. I would go through the house and say, how many people want this? I would make Mickey Mouse pancakes and different things like that, or whatever people wanted, and put the chocolate chips in. And so this one lady, and I didn't even remember her. It was like, I don't know, it's been like 10 years since that happened, and I had been able to do that. And I came back and she said, do you remember me? I went, oh gosh, no. And then she started to talk. I started to remember more and more about her. And that was like something that really impacted her, was going out of my way to do something special. She's like, oh yes, I remember you making chocolate chip pancakes for us. And she just really, it was something that I was able to develop a trust with her. And it's somebody who doesn't even like to be like, she doesn't trust other people. We did, I also do team building activities. That's some of the things I do. And so one of the things I had done with her is a trust lean, where you have to lean back and kind of like this. And she's like, I wouldn't do that for anybody else but you. And so after coming back and just knowing like the impact that I had on her life, I think was really huge. And it was great joy. So I'll combine the two. There we go.
Thank you. And Sarah's very modest. She's actually the executive director of Evangel Home. She just says that she works there. You do work there. Okay, so now we kind of have a feel of how it goes. Do any of our guests want to
You don't have to.
take a try
You
today?
don't have to. And if not, then you can jump in if you want to.
I'll do it.
All right.
Do you work with Jessica Lust?
I do.
Her daughter.
Oh.
Fire department.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
She is tough and competitive too.
Shall I start with, I will acquiesce to your rules?
Oh, which number would you
That
like,
works.
ma'am?
That works.
Oh, gosh, number 15.
Let's make it easy on the first page.
All right, and if it's too uncomfortable. No,
They're not too bad, but sometimes
This is
there's-
an interesting question. I don't think we've had this one
Interesting,
before.
not uncomfortable.
Well, it's vague, so this is good for you. You can
You
take
can
it in a
anywhere
lot
you
of
want.
directions, creative. It says, if not now, then when? You think you can roll with that?
Sometimes that can be scary or easy, right?
Sure.
You would have asked me that 30 years ago.
You can start with that.
Or you can answer one that we've already done.
Yes,
Let
that's
our
an
guests do
option
that.
too. Definitely.
No, I've got to, this is what I got to learn.
Okay.
To be able to speak off the cuff.
Okay.
Ooh, if not now, when? Oh, I can pick another one.
Yep.
Yes, you
Okay,
can.
number 18.
Okay. Is it possible to lie without saying a word?
Hmm.
an ethical question.
That's okay.
Sure, why not? I'll
Just
try.
do it.
Okay, hi, thank you for having me today. My name is Christine Wilson. My question is it possible to lie without saying a word? When you think about your body language is a huge way that you can relay and show somebody that you are being untruthful. Body language such as your eye movement. Eye movement is a way we can be deceptive. So if somebody asks you a question and your eyes move up and to the right, that means you are being deceptive and untruthful. If you fidget and or move your head, somebody asks you a question and you know the answer is yes. So instead of saying the word yes and you nod your head up and down, that's also a way you can show deception. The same thing as side to side. If the answer is no, you don't say no. When the question is asked to you, you move your head from side to side. So those are 3 ways that you can be deceptive without using your voice.
That works.
Yes, excellent. And I really appreciate how you stated the question at the beginning and then you restated it at the end.
Yeah.
It's very good speech form.
Yeah.
All right, would any of our other guests like to try?
Yeah.
You did pretty good.
But you sounded good, you sounded confident. Anybody else?
Aris?
Aris,
Do
all
it.
right.
I'll do the very last question.
365, I like that.
On that back.
Okay. How would you describe your future in 3 words?
Oh, okay.
3 words. And you can explain those 3
And I
words.
can explain the 3 words.
Okay. So, can you repeat the question one more time?
How would you describe your future in 3 words?
How would I describe my future in 3 words? The 3 words that I would use to describe my future, I would say love, family, and faith. So I'm very much a family person. They are everything to me. It's like my comfort. And I think more as I've grown in life, I learned that leading with love and compassion and all the other things that come with that, that's the way I wanted to live my life and to have that a part of family. And then on top of that, I think just learning to walk with God and have God in my life is something that I think is very important to me. And I think I want to instill in my family as well. So it kind of encompasses that whole thing.
Thank you for sharing.
I think my 3 words would be very similar. Okay. So if anybody else wants to go ahead. If not, we can move into wrapping up the meeting and then have more informal questions. If you guys have specific questions
Richard?
about the meeting. You went last week. Richard.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah,
He's a comm major. He's. Come on, Richard.
give me 23.
23.
No, there's no words for that one.
Okay.
Yes.
Are you holding on to something that you need to let go of?
That's crazy.
You want to pick another one?
No, I'll do this one.
Okay, all right.
All right. Do it.
So my name is Richard Contreras. This is my second week here. So the question is if I'm holding on to something. As crazy as it sounds, I've been asked this question a lot. This last week, I met up with someone who really inspired me and impacted me in my life, and we got to catch up. And he knows what's been going through my life being perfect. And he told me the things I'm doing in my life, is it because I genuinely am nice and do stuff to people, or if I'm running away from something. And it made me think about a different way, from what I've been through in my life. am I gonna do it to run away, or am I hiding from something? And it's crazy that this question is a question that I've been thinking about the last couple of days, and I don't know how to put it into words because my mind goes everywhere when I think about stuff like this. But I feel like I am, but I don't know what it is. And I feel like that's when I need to be giving myself to God to be able to help me walk through that path. But yes, I am, but I do not know what it is. And that's the part of the journey, is trying to figure it out. Thank you.
All right.
It's okay.
If it's a no, it's okay. Okay, you're good. Rich?
You don't have to. You don't have to.
I'm
I'm
so
putting everyone on the
like,
spot.
Or you can answer one of the questions that have already been asked. Or
um,
not. Or not.
Or you can just stand up and tell us about yourself if you want.
Okay, I'll just go.
That's true. If you
Okay.
want to
Yeah, yeah, I'm
introduce
just-
yourself, that's fine also.
My name's Rich Jackson. First time here at Toastmasters, and I joined. I'm going to join just to get comfortable in front of people and doing public speaking, which is one of my hugest fears and anxieties and things like that. So I know coming here will be a lot helpful, and getting to know everybody and just honing in, getting better at my skills and people talking skills. It's kind of crazy because I'm generally kind of open and lively and things like that. But when it comes to public speaking, I just got to get over that hurdle. So, like if it was something like the last thing he answered, I think it's anxieties for me as far as holding on to. I need to let that go, and fears and things like that for public speaking. So that's all I got for now. So see you guys.
You're in the right spot. You're in the right spot.
That's it.
You're in the right spot.
Yes, you're in good company. One of the statistics that we like to quote here a lot is that in a poll of Americans, public speaking was the number one fear. Number two was death. So that means like at a funeral, most people would rather be in the casket than give you the speech. So yeah, definitely. And Wyatt, would you like to introduce yourself? Just tell us one thing about yourself, maybe.
All right.
I'll feel left out. Thanks. I don't really know what to say other than my name is Wyatt. I course local to Fresno, have been for a long time. Public speaking is one of those things that gets me nervous. I feel like I do well in a intimate setting, but then as soon as I start feeling like the eyes are on me, then the anxiety, hits the ceiling. So really just trying to get through that, sitting in on my first meeting here today.
Cool. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. Thank you everybody for participating. I think with that, we'll call Sarah back up, and we're going to do our meeting evaluation.
Take my notes on this is the time for the general evaluation. I'm going to call up my team, which is partly me, so I'm going to do the counter. And so Joey and Chanel still using so's a few times each, and there's the connector, and so it is, and so it is pretty subtle, but it's still in there in an inappropriate time, not in an appropriate time. It's in the so this and that long so's. Christina, RS or wait, say it again. Aris, sorry. I'm gonna get your name right. Aris and Richard all had about a handful of ums in between. Great job. And oh yeah, Rich and Wyatt also had a couple of ums and ums. That's pretty normal, especially when you're talking about like the different anxieties that we all experience. I am totally with you on this. I decreased mine significantly. I know I still use them all the time, but when I first came, I'm like, and then sit down. I think my first table topics was like, I don't know, under 30 seconds. So I absolutely understand, and I'm just excited for each of you. Who wants to go next? Do you want Acquiesce to go first? Timer. Go. Yeah, why don't you go first?
Plus, it'll give me some time to work in the word. Yeah, sometimes it's just really hard for me because I like to talk, so I got to acquiesce to the rules of staying in the time. Just got to work in my word there. So for our timing, for our table topics, again, our speeches, if we had a speech today, would be a 5 to 7 minute speech, and our evaluator, if we had an evaluator, would be a 2 to 3 minute speech on the speaker. And table topics was 1 to 2. Sarah today came in at 156. I came in 148, something like that. I was actually acquiesced to that rule today. Christine, 112. Beautiful. And I was listening to what you had to say. I forgot to turn the green on. You're probably waiting for it. And you didn't think you made it, or she wasn't paying attention.
I just wanted to get through it.
And then when she was done, I looked at the time, and she's over a minute. I forgot to turn the green on. Sometimes that happens. We get so enthralled in what they're saying that you kind of forget what your role is if you have a role. Aris, 57, pretty close. Pretty good though. Be able to stretch that out. Richard, 107, came in right inside. And then I know we were just thanks, Jordy. And I know you two were just kind of introducing yourselves, so we didn't expect you to get in on there. But Rich, 41 seconds, and then Wyatt, 21 seconds. That will get so much better the more practice that you guys get on this. So don't worry about that. So that is my timer report.
Thank you very much, Kevin. Thank you. And Chanel, back up. Thank you.
The grammarian report, I used it at the beginning of table topics. Christine used it right away. She was on the ball. Joey, you used it at the end. Did I miss anybody else? No, that's it, the 3 of us. So, yep, good job on that. And it's probably, I think, a little maybe harder than it seems to sneak that word in there. I think for me, it might be the hardest part of meetings to remember to use the word.
I think the speaker can do that. It's really good.
Yes, especially when you have an already planned speech and you don't know what the word is to be able to work it in. Yeah, definitely. Okay. And then, all right. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, is it Joey back again?
Mhm.
Oh, what are you coming for?
Presidential.
Oh, all right. Well,
But
come on in.
general.
Oh, yeah. So just generally, we did we started a little bit late. It was so much fun having so many guests come in today and give us an extra little boost of energy today. So thank you very much for all of you participating. That is fantastic. So thank you for each of that. And I'm going to now turn it over to Joey.
Thank you, Miss Sarah. Before we get to all the question stuff, and one thing I forgot to mention today, I think just all the guests, we were trying to get everything together a little bit last minute. We were looking for this little thing to be able to connect it to that. But one thing I mentioned, and I think everybody did a pretty good job of, I made a mention to try and look up at the screen, is to adjust this. So this is a new age, right? Where we could be talking in person, but we could also be talking online to people that are out there. It could be hundreds of people, it could be a couple people or whatnot. But it's if you come up and you got Shorty here was talking like this, and then Tolly comes up and you're sitting here, right? Nobody wants to stare at my chest while I'm talking. So being able to do that, that's usually one thing I try and mention. But I think everybody did pretty good. Boom, 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 boom. Like you're in, what was that movie back in the day, though? Those you can remember, the witch one, where the witch, oh man, where they were holding the camera and they're walking around like this. And I just remember in the movie theater turning green, because the whole thing. Yeah, so before we get to the questions and all that, I want to give, we always give rewards at the beginning of this. And I thank all our guests. We got to give a round of applause to everybody for, again, like Sarah said, coming in and actually doing things coming up. And it's what you remember. The more you do, the more you remember about it. We don't mind sitting, being a fly on the wall and things like that, but you don't tend to remember as much about the meeting that way. And you don't get as much, you become a member, you don't get as much out of it if you're not actively doing something. And we have so much support with resources, PDFs, things like that, with these different roles that you heard us talk about today, the timer, the all counter. So if you get assigned that role, we have a Toastmaster wears many hats, as you saw many of us Toastmasters today were wearing many hats in this meeting. It tells you how to do it. It tells you step by step. Toastmasters as an organization does a good job of outlining everything from speeches to roles to evaluations to all that. So don't worry, there's support. We do mentorships in our program. It doesn't cost anything extra. It's just a member that, say, you choose. You could say, hey, I love Sarah's energy and would you mind mentoring me? And you can ask, or we can, if you want assigned a mentor, we can. And that is as much or as little as you want to do with that. That could be meeting up. That could be just email correspondence or calling on the phone and talking about, hey, I'm going to give a speech next week and this is what I'm thinking. What do you think? And that mentorship program, I think, is very powerful, especially with guests coming in. So that, oh my gosh, when I get in, then what? How am I not going to know what to do? And then what? Then what am I going to do? So you have a point person that you can go to and ask in your own time on email or whatnot. So be okay that it's like a safety net if you decide to join. So way to go, guests. And then of course our regular members, way to go today about serving multiple roles. Some of them we didn't know we had until we had it, and being able to do that. And that's, I think, probably one of the most unspoken non-written rules of Toastmasters that I didn't know coming in is you really get good at, if a role gets thrown on you without you knowing. Like last week for the open house, Richard was here and the ladies were here. I was grammarian. I didn't even look at that. And I was supposed to be the Toastmaster too. So I had to get up on my phone and find a word of the day. And then I had, Chanel was kind enough to write it up on the board as I said it. But it was something I wasn't gearing up for. But you are able to take that chaos, like I talked about earlier, take that chaos and kind of sit in it a little bit. Just like with table topics, it's hard sometimes. If you get a question that you don't know what the question is before you come up, and for you to just kind of sit in it, relax, let your mind, and then the first thing that comes to mind, that's what you talk on. So that's the one thing that I didn't know coming into this back in 2012 that I was going to get pretty good at. Now, I'm not perfect, but I can do a pretty good job of spinning, I guess my wife would call BS. I can spin it. I can do pretty good about sounding eloquent and something I might not know a lot about. But that's a skill I think that you learn here and you get better at. So those are our rewards. And again, before we get to the questions, if you have 2 pages like I do, or you have a 1-pager, just flip it over on the back. You got our agenda for next week, and we got Valentine's Day. Chanel, are you still good on giving your speech? Yep. Cool. Awesome. And if guests, we say 3-day, you can come to 3 meetings. No worries. You can be a fly on the wall. You can come in, as much as participating as you want. And then, we just ask after that 3rd one to make a decision. You can make a decision after the 1st one, but three times are good. But I would suggest if you're going to come to another one, come to watch Chanel speak. Chanel has come a long way. She said 3 years this month. She came in. She wanted to do in person. We were doing in person at Bitwise at the time we were meeting. Then the COVID thing hit. So I think she only came to 3 in-person meetings, and we went straight up online for the rest. So she's come such a long way, very quiet, reserved in the beginning, and you probably can't tell now. Maybe a little bit. So she's going to speak. So if you can come next week as a guest, if you want to come as a guest. Any of the other roles you want to do? So you're speaking. So let's see if we can take, Sarah, do you want to do Toastmaster?
Sure.
Let's do that. I'll do table topics. Table topics. We'll throw Denny in. Yep, Denny. And then general evaluator, let's go. You know what? I'm going to throw Corinne in there. He deserves it. Yeah, he does. Yeah. So what I'll do, so timer. So let's see. I'll have him do.
You can say the first few times, and then after that.
Yeah. He can handle it. So maybe I'll counter grammarian. Maybe I'll got to make sure I'm ready for that beforehand that day. So I'll do grammarian, I'll counter timer. Maybe, so she's doing evaluating. Maybe we'll have Denny do I'll counter too. She doesn't like timer. And then Corinne, we'll have him do timer. Cool. We good with that? And no other speeches, Sarah, myself, next week? We'll late notice. Okay. All right. Now to the good stuff. And I think we are good. We got about 5 minutes or so, and I will stop talking. But I do want to get some info, since we do have a lot of guests, which I'm super honored that you came to our club, because there are other clubs. We are required to say that there are other clubs. Get this up. Are we not required to do that? Did I reveal too much? Yeah.
Can you go to each club meetings?
Yeah.
All of them?
Yeah. You can go as many as you want.
How do you
Check them
find
out.
out where the other ones all of them?
So you can go Google Toastmasters Fresno, or find a club in Fresno. Well, Toastmasters will come up and it'll say find a club, and you just click that and then just put in your zip or whatever, and it'll populate it, and then you can go out. And so I think ours is probably pretty unique, and I think we have great members, number one. But number two is, I think our not so much our location, although I love our location. I think our time is one of the most unique, because we do every Tuesday in the afternoon. So for those that can get off for work for lunch, are you downtown at Fresno Fire? Because we used to meet there way back in the day.
Yeah, I am on shift work until April. And then
Okay.
April, I moved to a 40-hour week.
Okay, yeah.
But
So yeah, it depends, locality is a big deal, but we get it a lot in an hour. Like we got a lot in today. We didn't get any speeches, but we can get 2 speeches in, 2 evaluations, and then we can get like usually 3 or 4 table topics. That's a lot to get in one meeting. And I think that's very unique about us. Other meetings are great. They, Monday night from 6 to 8, you have a Wednesday night, you have different nights. Some are 3 hours, some are 2 hours. So it's a little longer. I don't know how many speeches, they probably do 2, 3, 4 or something. I don't know. They probably get more done maybe. Yeah, I thought I heard. Yeah, like 5 to 8 or 6 to 9 or something like that. I thought I heard that. Now I could be wrong. I know 2 hours for sure, but they do it at night and things like that. This works better for me, so I'm good with this. So I think that's unique about our club. But you can go and check out other ones as well. I don't know how many of them are hybrid. I know we're hybrid, but other ones are.
So you can join on Zoom also.
Yeah. If you can't make it, join on Zoom. Yeah, Denny almost, she had something going on. She said she might be able to join on Zoom, but she couldn't join us today. Yeah. Good question. So any other questions? So I'm kind of curious where our guests found us, how they found us. So how did you find us, Rich?
Well, online. Well,
Okay.
Yeah, and I know this is something I really need to do back because I, future want to get into public speaking, doing things like that. So I'm thinking like maybe joining twice a week if I can.
Yeah, join in 2 clubs.
Like here, maybe
Yeah,
one,
some people do that.
Get more.
Yeah, you get more practice, more speeches. Yep,
Comfortable with things like that.
that's a good point. Yeah. Wyatt?
Well, I went at work, I presented to our directors, our VPs, et cetera, and I do well, and there's like 3 or 4 of them. And when it comes to presenting to 10 or 15 people in the meetings, my director told me, hey, get down to Toastmasters.
You start to shrink. The more people get in the room, you start shrinking.
You do really, really well when there's a couple of us, but when there's a lot of us, you get some more confidence. So he told me about it. I Googled Toastmasters Fresno. This is the first thing that popped up. So here we are.
And you're very calm. I didn't really get the nervousness when he was up here doing table topics.
Yeah,
but
no, it's really weird. Like I don't decide obviously when I get anxious or nervous, but I start to feel the eyes on me, and that's when it's like
start to shrink.
Yeah, I'm not telling myself like, hey, you gotta be anxious right now, or oh man, there's
Yeah.
15 people in here. So
Right.
it's just, that's what's happening when I start feeling the eyes. So,
Yeah, I get it. Yep. Christine?
I heard about the organization years ago. I don't know from whom. However, as of April, I'll be moving into the public information officer position for our department. So I thought it would be a really good idea to start getting the
Some
out
momentum.
of the way that I had no idea. I cannot hear myself.
Yeah.
As well as being able to answer where my weaknesses, be able to answer questions off the cuff. Hearing, no problem, but.
Porter putting a mic in your face. Yep.
So I just want to be able to represent well.
Very good. Yeah. Hadis?
I actually heard from Richie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. There you go. Very cool. Anything else? Any other questions? I mean, we got a couple minutes now. Want to get everybody out on time, Rich.
First question, what do you guys think is the main reason that people get so anxious and nervous? Like especially probably like him, we're comfortable like in other settings around people and just talkative and things like that. But I even used to do perform on stage years ago, a musical, and I was comfortable with hundreds, whoever's there. But it seems like whenever it comes down to like a setting, like even like this or bigger, I just get so anxious and nervous. I don't know what do you think it is?
What do you think, ladies? What made you nervous in the beginning?
Like mental or psychological.
Well, I can speak from a therapist perspective if you want.
Hey, however, all the answers.
So I am actually a licensed personality therapist, but I don't practice anymore. But so I think just like one of the things is just the things that are in our heads already of just what our preconceived perceptions are of what is out there. For me, it's like a lot of thoughts about, oh, people are gonna hate me, or like all these things that we think people are gonna think of us if we get up there.
They think you're wrong.
They think you're wrong, yeah. And so there's just like a lot of things that come up, and so that's for me was getting over it. And so also when I was I took piano for a little while as an adult and had to get up on stage, and I just remember like getting up there, I was fully practiced, like I would do it perfectly in practice, but when I got up there, like everything just your body just reacts to all these things that you're feeling, and so sometimes it's not even voluntary, and it's not even like thoughts in your head, it just is overwhelming things. And so like for me on that piano thing, it was all the keys were what I saw white and I saw black, but I could see no differentiation between the two. And I played about half the piece, and you're like,
Oh.
and the half that I did play was all wrong. It was,
Yeah.
and so it's just like things that naturally that you just have to like learn to be able to breathe through and be able to calm yourself down.
That's also my next part question was, what are you doing now that's making you comfortable, calm before you speak? What are some tips?
So a lot of, for me, it's just like changing the thoughts that are there and then being able to breathe. And so my mentor was Denny, she's still in part of the club.
Mhm.
And so because I talk like this, and so she took me out, took me back, I say take me back in the alley.
Down the block.
It was really
Down the block, yeah.
literally in the alley, but she didn't take me out to eat or anything.
No.
Took me out and sent me down to the other side of the alley and made me project. And so you get that practice. And so even
Practice.
on Sunday, I got to go preach at a church on
Wow.
Sunday.
Mhm.
And so I still don't preach. I don't talk as long as he does that.
It's okay. It's okay, Dave.
It is short, but it gets better and better. Just like I think even the practicing, it's like realizing
Sure.
I'm probably my own worst critic and my own worst judge of like what's happening, and people are not going to judge me as harshly as I judge myself.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
Chanel, real quick.
Yeah, I would echo that last part. And I know it is 1 o'clock, so
Yep.
if people need to go, please.
Well, let me stop the recording. So thank you all that are going to watch us online, and we'll end the meeting officially. So I'll stop the recording here.
please, yeah, if you guys do need to go, but if you want
Yeah.
to chat.